who committed the murder, his name was Tony. He was actually a really young kid. He was 14 years old. Okay, 14 years old, and he committed a murder. So he was actually the first juvenile in California to be tried as an adult and sentenced to prison, which is crazy. And you would think, of course, the father of the victim, instead of him, like, trying to get revenge against the kid's family who murdered his son, you would think like, oh, he's probably going to try to get revenge or something because they murdered my son or whatever the situation was. No, instead he did the opposite. He actually became friends with, I believe it was the grandfather of the murderer. Makes you think, like, why would he become friends with the father, with the grandpa of the 14-year-old? Basically, what the whole moral of this article was that we must not go against, we must not take things into our own hands. We must not go ahead and get revenge for, another kid killing a kid. Because at the end of the day, when you actually look at it, the way that this article was explained, this whole story, which is really touching, is that kids, even if he's the one that shot the kid, he was actually a victim of the streets too. It's just the way that he was raised. Not because that's the person he wanted to become, but because he was a victim as well. Of course, he didn't die, but then again, he lost his entire life because now he's going to be in prison. So even though there's a grieving father because his, upset because his son died, there's also a grieving grandfather, which officially feels like he lost his grandson because now the grandson's in jail. So it was really interesting because these two, really mature people, they came together, they put their differences to the side, they both agreed that both of their kids were victims to the streets. They went and they did an organization. So the organization that they did, it's basically trying to stop, the kids who are already victims of the streets to, it's the big meaning of this whole organization is to teach people that revenge is not going to stop things. It's a never ending cycle. If you go ahead and do revenge because your kid was murdered, you go ahead and you kill another kid, what's happening? It's not ending. So therefore, it's a big message that's trying to get, that's getting sent through this organization, that in order that revenge is not the answer to solutions. That this is how we have to break the cycle. Not only do we gotta, not say put your whole differences aside, but revenge is not the solution to things. Two wrongs don't make one right, and this is what this whole article explained, which is actually a pretty good, it's a pretty good powerful meaning behind it, because that's what I feel like is a big issue, in the United States, especially here in Chicago. Like, oh, you killed my cousin, I'm gonna go ahead and kill you back. And it's a never ending cycle. It's all these gangs, all these young kids who easily get influenced into gangs, killing each other because it's war in the streets. And that is something that we need to stop. That is something that, we need to go ahead and provide more programs that is going to prevent this type of violence, that's going to make these kids see life differently. So children who actually go through neglect, they're exposed to, child abuse, their parents getting abused by the father, the mother getting abused by the father getting abused by the mother, vice versa. Kids who go through rejection within their family, who have a whole crazy family, like a whole life in general, these are the kids that actually show signs of early aggression. These are the kids that we need to go ahead and provide these programs to. These type of